Hello and welcome to Vtuber Talk. I'm your host Jay and thank you so much for joining us this evening. For those of you who haven't been here before, Vtuber Talk is designed after classic late night talk shows. Everything here is live, casual, and the goal is to simply have fun conversations that will entertain people who are already familiar with the guest while still being accessible for new fans. Please welcome my guest for this evening, Shindigs.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, Shin. Hello, Mr. Diggs. So happy to have you here. Oh, I'm realizing I need to actually rearrange a couple things because we've done some... Oh, that does work. Great. Good. Because as is tradition, I suppose, for streams that involve you, we have done some very different things with the overlay tonight, something that I have not done in 158 episodes, which is to effectively give my guest control over my entire overlay. I have a window up where Shindigs has just the layer on top of my normal background, and I have given him free reign to do anything that doesn't get me banned.
You didn't mention the last part. You said I could do anything.
Oh, yep. Look at that contract right there. I didn't, yep.
I am sponsored by... I'll think about this very carefully.
Big microphones.
Yeah. Big microphone. True. Big mic.
Big mic.
Yeah.
Well, welcome on in. Oh, and thank you to Lane the Infamous and Bug VT for the follows.
Okay. I'm done messing around. This was a funny setup because, we had to send my OBS feed to you through Discord.
Yes.
Because normally you would just use Live 2D multiplayer, but my setup is...
It's sort of a multi-step process, and again, something that I haven't had to deal with before, but just for me as a host, it's a fun little new challenge of, okay, the fact that I have a guest that has this type of unique setup is very exciting for me, and goodness knows that you have a very unique setup as a VTuber, not only in terms of your actual technical infrastructure, but just the way you run your streams. You are the man of a million overlays. You have a full YouTube channel, which the link is in the channel panels for those watching live and will be in the YouTube description when you're on YouTube. By the way, hi YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, something. But you do a lot of different things. Do you have any sort of semblance of a brainstorming process, or is it just, oh, thing popped into head, write that down?
Yeah, I do keep a list of stuff. And hold on, I'm just making sure on the stream that I'm not breaking anything. Because I get distracted and I do just I just add things to OBS scenes and overlays. Yeah. I can.
He is indeed dithering as we speak.
Yeah, I can dither. I can do a whole bunch of things. I'm two-dimensional. Maybe we'll do this for the first answer. Okay. I do have a list of ideas, and because I'm a little YouTube pilled right now, I started to organize them as this would make a good video, but more or less it's just kind of whenever an idea pops up, I kind of either work on it or write it down. And so there's an immediate pool of ideas that I need to do. It's I have to do this. There's a broader pool of ideas that I'm I'll get to those when I'm done with this. And then there's an even wider pool of ideas that's I eventually want to do this. I don't know when it will happen. I don't even know if I'm capable, but they will happen in some way, right? So there's no super organization. It's always kind of just been whatever pops in my head in a broad way.
But do you have a document of some sort where you just note all these down? Is there a master list contained somewhere?
Are you trying to steal it? Like the Declaration of Independence?
No comment.
Yeah.
I'm one sec. I need to put in a quick call to Nick Cage and tell him to not do a thing. Don't worry about it.
All good. Yeah, you take your time on the call. So I think this is such a great interview format because I have something to do with my hands, and I can just not I can keep fiddling.
I will say the asset that you're having for your model is chopped off a little bit at the top.
Oh yeah, but that comes with the territory.
Okay,
that comes with the territory of what's going on. So I would say there is a master list, which is my Apple Notes like
Apple
list
Notes. Oh my.
that says like stream ideas, and then it's just like everything I think of like in the moment, and then I just like this needs to be written down. And then there's a spreadsheet, but the spreadsheet is not very well organized. Like I'm not like a big Notion. You know what Notion is? The
I know of
notebook?
Notion. I haven't used it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not like a big Notion person. I'm like not a Hobonichi, like I organize everything. It's just unfortunately scattered across maybe 3 or 5 different things at a time.
If you had to guess, how many ideas do you think are currently written down, whether it be in, one document or another? It just sort of include all the different categories that you mentioned earlier. Do you have even a broad guess of how many concepts you have just sort of waiting in the queue?
I can't get a number, but I could like see the spreadsheet in my mind and tell you it's like probably definitely a page, maybe more. And like stuff gets removed or just never done, but like definitely I think I could easily say a page of things. I have a page of ideas at any given time. That would be a decent estimate.
Do you have anything on that list that is particularly aspirational, something that you might not know how you would actually execute right now, but just, all right, one day I want to figure out how to do this?
Yes. There is one idea specifically, which I don't even know if I should share here. But,
That's fair. If you want to keep it close to the chest, I will not blame.
Yeah, but you were very generous in the green room. Like the alcohol was flowing and everything. So, I'm feeling a little tipsy right now. So, the words are just flowing. I would love to do, like a version of the NPR Tiny Desk concert.
Ooh.
And it has like a very unique sound. There was a YouTube video that explored how to recreate the Tiny Desk concert like vibe, basically. And yeah, at the surface, it's pretty simple because it's just people in a room and they sing, right? It's just they get people in a room. And for people who don't know, it's like this video series from NPR. They bring famous artists into their newsroom and they put on this really small concert, usually with acoustic instruments. It's really like an intimate type of setting. It's like not a big venue. It's like people crowded in a room and they sing. It's gotten popular because it's like a very unique vibe. Not a lot of people in the room. A famous version of this is like T-Pain sang all his songs basically without auto-tune, and that's kind of like what started making the whole process go viral. It's like, okay, they're like really stripping down these artists to like their core element, or making them remix their songs in a very different way. And in the video I watched about the Tiny Desk concert, there is a process to kind of help recreate it, which is you have to have like a certain amount of like microphone bleed. Certain instruments are like mic'd up in a certain way. And one of the Tiny Desk not executives, maybe founders or audio engineers, popped in the comments and said like one of the key ingredients is like, as an artist performing in these things, they don't monitor themselves. They're not wearing headphones to hear the rest of the instruments and everything being mixed together. They have to listen with their actual ears to everyone around them and like adjust their vocal performance or their instrument based on that. And so anyway, bring it back. It's like, that's an idea that it's very aspirational to me because I like audio stuff, but also the way that they curate this very specific intimate vibe. But it's like watching a performance in a coffee shop, but they somehow have distributed to millions and millions of people and preserved that. That's cool.
In some ways, that feels like a very different style of a project for you, because most of what you do ends up being a bit more visual based and a bit more on the chat interaction side. So the concept of, all right, well, actually, I suppose I should preface this. Is the concept here to have chat control this band, or would you be inviting other folks in as the performers?
I'm open to anything. I mean, that's the point. That's the part of aspirational, which is like there is some, like how I'm imagining it is like I build this scene, and the scene can do anything, right? Like I could stand in the scene, I can just like give a talk in the scene. I can perform in the scene. I can have chat perform in the scene. But the challenge of this particular project is not really getting chat to interact or anything. It's like
it's really in the audio engineering.
It's the audio engineering and it's the assets. It's like I have to commission the assets and get everything just right. So, but it's like combining a lot of things that I really like to do. And this idea that you kind of recreate, like I like the Tiny Desk concert because they recreate basically the space digitally, right? Like they record everything and distribute it and everything like that.
Yeah.
And so like I kind of want to do that with the stream.
Yeah. And in some ways, it would be easier for you than NPR because, you know, physically getting everybody in the space here would just be all right to have OBS assets or using VTube Studio, and that you don't necessarily need to worry about, you know, all the instruments and all the hardware, all the different mics and amps and such. So that thing's easier, but then you have to worry about all of the software parts, but also the actual balancing in ways that aren't done IRL for Tiny Desk Concert because you have to have some semblance of mixing done in terms of the actual stream output.
Yeah, my dream would be to simulate microphone bleed, which I think if you're an audio person, you might know how to do. I don't. That's just a task I know that would have to be done, but I have no background in audio engineering, so I don't know if that's possible. But yeah, I mean, the very small version of this idea is just to get the overlay assets and then like screw the sound part. It's just like play the sound through however it's going to be processed through OBS. But I think the sound is such a key part. Like imagine walking to a stream and it feels like you're actually walking to like the space and like the sounds are more three-dimensional.
Yeah.
And yeah, it doesn't sound like it's being processed or anything. That would be kind of wild.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the aspirational
processing
idea.
It so much that it makes it sound that it's unprocessed, that you're going sort of the full loop there.
Exactly. Yeah.
You mentioned to me that the overall sort of top-down design of your streams is to have improv and scene creation, and the mention of improv in particular sort of makes me think, were you a theater kid?
No, I didn't do theater.
You're doing quite well for having not been a theater kid. You could have fooled me. The fact that most of what you do with your chat interactions ends up being improv, and that, yes, as a streamer, you have to have some level of improv just as part of the job here, but that you've done a really good job, whether you realize it or not, of really honing these skills that you're able to make storylines out of just all the things that chat does. You even had a typewriter stream recently where it's actually literally chat writing the content for you and you having to react in real time and deal with the however many monkeys at typewriters, and it was really good. Was there a point of, I guess, sort of realization that you enjoyed that type of improv?
Yeah, so I never did theater, but I mean, I think I like improvisational games. Like I like deception games, like a Coup or like Mafia or Werewolf. Anything in that family. What's the one that's like also really good in this genre? Secret Hitler. That's a really good deception, like tabletop game. So like games where you have to act, I think are really interesting. And in my mind, it's not like fully improv. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. I'm not from the world. Like I see it as like chat is kind of more playing a game than they are improving or acting. And like just their behavior or whatever they say is like part of the mechanics, right? You have to respond to it.
Yeah.
I mean, we just finished the GTA RP thing, and like that is like partially improv role playing, but like I think in my mind that feels more like gameplay. It's just a unique type of gameplay that isn't pressing a button or doing anything. It's like very freeform. So there are other games out there. I got introduced to this genre through like Fiasco, which I never ever played. But there's in this family of games called like story tabletop games, which are like mechanic light, but I guess it's like D&D if you stripped away all the rules, and it's just like you just go on an adventure, and just like the DM has these more narrative driven rules that like guide you to places, and that's like more of a deeper inspiration. that's a deeper inspiration than like I think improv or theater. But I mean, I watched a lot of Whose Line Was It Anyway? So maybe it's like seeped into my soul, some version of that.
Voodoo person asked, was that EROS? No, I genuinely mean it as a compliment. The fact that improv is a skill, and the fact that you're able to do this without any training or having had that as sort of a personal background, which a number of streamers do have, speaks your just instincts there. And that's really cool, because if you're not able to handle that, especially with things being as chaotic as your streams can get, that things could become overwhelming or go off the rails in a not entertaining way, and you're able to really keep things entertaining. And I think that's just the fact that you don't have that background speaks to just a level of natural talent, or at least instinct, and that's part of how you've become so successful. And it's been a wild ride for you, I would think, over the past several months, that you've really, I think, found your niche. Do you think there was a particular stream or a particular concept where you realized, oh, I have something here?
I think that may have come like in like 2020, because one of the first streams we did that was like felt very improvisational was I pretended we were in like the. Have you ever been to BlizzCon?
Haven't been to BlizzCon, but have, I'm very aware of BlizzCon. I've been to other conventions and have seen coverage of BlizzCon.
Yeah, so this is like the right in the middle of lockdown. BlizzCon is doing everything virtually, right? And like a big part of BlizzCon, or like at any part of con, there's like lobby lore. Lobby lore is this idea that I just made the word up right now, but let's pretend that it's a thing that's existed for a long time. Lobby lore is like at every convention, there's like a hotel lobby that people congregate at, and that becomes like the spot in the canon. And so for BlizzCon, that would be the Anaheim Hilton Hotel lobby. And so I was someone who used to go a lot, and like that's just the spot. You meet up, you hang out after the con for drinks, you play games there, you play tabletop games there, etc. And so I threw up like a JPEG of that lobby, because I just had a moment of like, I miss her, I should call her, kind of. It's like, I just miss this experience. I threw that up, and I remember just doing this in like 10 minutes. I threw that up, and I just had like a silly like Wojak avatar, and then I just like went live for like 10 minutes. And the title was just like, we're in the BlizzCon lobby. And I'm just like, started role playing that we're in the BlizzCon lobby. And people that I knew who went to BlizzCon were showing up, like people I went to conventions with. And so I would talk to them in the chat just like we were like in the same room, right? It's like greeting them, talking very casually, and like, I'm gonna get you a drink, I'm gonna go to the bar, what do you want? Oh, you want a rum and coke? And it's like, that's something they would always order. And they like created, I guess, like that role-playing space, and then it just kind of evolved from there. It's like we'd get in an Uber, get Korean barbecue, and I think people kind of understood we were playing this little fun adventure together. And that I wouldn't. After that, I was like, whoa, this is kind of a really interesting concept to do for streaming. And then from there, I just kind of streamed normally by playing games and messing around with OBS. But I always knew I wanted to bring it back in some way, and so I sometime in 2022 or 2021, I don't remember, like I was able to set up text-to-speech with set up text-to-speech with like the people avatars, like the frog avatars.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, this is always something I've wanted to do, which was to have like chat in the stream with me, and they can like distinctly talk with each other, like basically argue with each other, which is like the dream. And then from there, I just started like I kept like trying to mess around with that a bit more. But I think it was more like the end of last year or the middle of last year, I specifically said, or I specifically thought in my mind, like, I just got to post more slop on the internet. And that would help promote my channel. And so that's when I like started to
give yourself
just
some
post
credit,
a lot
man.
more.
It's not slop.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think everyone feels self-conscious about like self-promoting, right?
That's fair.
But definitely, I mean, what you're saying is true, which is now that I'm like hyper aware of like self-promoting and marketing and stuff like that, when I check out other people's stuff, I always think I wish they would promote themselves more. because it's like if you scroll, for example, you scroll through someone's Twitter, and it's like not clips of them, it's like every like things that they like or like memes. It's like, okay, I want to find out what you're about, and I'm not like getting that. I'm just getting kind of like your social feed, which is fine. But like, I remember watching a stream where someone was coming to my Twitter, and they were scrolling through, and I swear to God, I just had 2 normal quote unquote posts that weren't just like posting a clip. And they're like, where's the clips? Like, I'm looking for the clip to show my stream. I'm like, oh my God, like I gotta clean this shit up real bad. I mean, I think a little differently now, but that kind of radicalized me a bit to be like, okay, first of all, self-promotion, like you said, it's not too bad. And the other thing being, there's a lot more noise out in the universe or like on the internet than I think anyone really can fully comprehend. So you need to do a lot to kind of break through the noise. The slop posting was like, I was scrolling through TikTok and like that is slop. But there was this dude that there's this dude that I loved watching. He was like a streamer, but he would RP driving a truck. He's playing like a truck game. I think he's playing BeamMG maybe. And then he would just get in an accident on purpose and pretend he was actually in an accident, which is a weird, like a kind of a dark sort of role play. But he just had clips after clip after clip, like 50 clips of the same thing straight. And I'm like, I don't hate this guy for like, I respect this. I gotta get on that. Like, I gotta get on this slop accident role play. I mean, I don't know, something in my mind like changed, I think, when I saw that. It's just like seeing the same guy getting in the same fake accident 20 times in a row. I'm like, yeah, I should promote probably what we do on the stream a bit more.
And it's definitely something that you do nowadays, that if you go to your Twitter feed, that it's, I made a overlay that does this, that, the other, and that, while you've found your niche of, all right, doing overlays, that you do still keep things very diverse within that, and goodness knows that it's essentially a bottomless well of potential there, and as is shown just by the fact you have so many ideas already on your list, just written but not quite implemented yet, and that I'm very excited to see where you end up going with your next several ones. But more recently, you had a couple favorites that you mentioned to me. I referenced it a little bit earlier. There was the typewriter stream where you had the classic, I forget the exact name of the concept, but that a million monkeys with a million typewriters over time will eventually write Shakespeare. And that you struggled valiantly against chat's darker impulses for a number of hours, and did eventually get them to write to be, I forget, I think it was To Be or Not to Be was the final challenge?
Yeah, that's the Shakespeare. That is Shakespeare.
So what was the implementation for that one? That you had to do, I'm assuming, a fair bit of work on the back end. Can you sort of take me through that one?
Yeah, so let me make sure I'm pulling up the right thing. Okay.
WOBBLER, yes. Bonnie and Benny.
Yeah, I can switch. Let me see. I'm going to try attempting to switch to my screen to share right now. I'm going to watch the stream and make sure. Okay, excellent. I've taken over your entire stream by doing this.
Hooray! Okay. Yes.
Yes. So I use something called Sammy, which is it's like StreamerBot. It's like other third-party programs that kind of simplify the Twitch API, and so it's like drag and drop programming. And so each little idea gets its own deck. The paradigm is like you have decks, and within decks you have buttons, and it's a lot like a stream deck, right? So I have a bunch of buttons that are triggered by chat messages, by subs, by bits, etc. So unlike a stream deck, you can trigger things by things happening on Twitch. And you can do this in like normal code. You just have to know a bit more about using the Twitch API. So you've been able to do this for quite some time, but these programs are really, I would dare say, revolutionized the usability here, because it just makes it way easier for someone like me who's too lazy to learn all that to just like click and drag. Like I can, if I wanted to make this event happen like on a hype train, you could like change your scene, for example, based on if a hype train happens or an raid happens, things like that. Just with a click of the button. So the typewriter thing, this is not a really good way to illustrate this because this looks like gibberish. How it essentially works is it takes Twitch chat messages and then it like just dumps it into like a text file. And I do a lot of processing to just basically say only take one word at a time. And so if someone in chat writes one word, then it dumps it into the file. If they don't, it just gives them a warning. It says like, please type one word. And there's extra stuff to add, like sound effects, like the typewriter sound effect per type. And then there's extra work to add. What else was there? There's a bunch of little like small little details to make it feel like a typewriter, but like on the programming side, it's take whatever someone has said in chat, dump it all into a text file, and just pray to God that they actually write something coherent. Though I will say, like during the stream, the benefit of using Twitch chat as like your filter is like it has built-in moderation capabilities.
Yeah, so you don't need to bother actually doing that in here. However,
like say someone in chat says something stupid and you have to ban them and delete them, or you deletes the message. It
wouldn't get dumped from the actual document here.
No, I found that out way later, that people can just sneak words in there that aren't caught by automod, but like can make it through. But if they're so anyway, that was a fun little situation. So then there's like, this is like what a scene will look like, where let's say the top left-hand corner is like the code, which is like this handles all the processing of the text and putting it into the text file. And then Notepad++ lets you, which is the program I use to open up the file with, lets you monitor the text being updated in real time. So I didn't have to worry about that. Just like keep the window open and I'll see Twitch chat writing in real time. But then all this other stuff is like controlling. I wonder if I could just show.
Yeah, I saw things like hand raise, hand lower. I'm guessing that's for these three peoples in the front row that we have.
Yeah, like I can like control. This is more like scene control, right? I don't know if this is gonna work. Hold on. Will this work? Oh, it might be because the deck is disabled. So if I raise this hand, this one I think randomly raises a hand. Oh yeah, and this is like peeling behind the veil a bit, which is like, this is when it's zoomed out, so I don't need the whole peepo. But if I zoom in this button, I think. Is it working? No, typewriter, oh, right here. Yeah, if I zoom in, it looks like they're raising their hand. And then if I zoom out, there we go. Yeah, this triggers like a whole slew of animations to bring the peepos in, and they're all typing in the infinite room.
For this animation, how did you implement this? Did you have to create a separate instance for each of the peepos, or it looks like it might be 3 layers, one for each row?
Yeah, this is something I started doing recently, which is, let me see if I can see this here. Yeah, so it's this scene. Hold on, I need to check if this, okay. It's this scene with, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 peepo assets, and then I just clone them, I think. Yeah, it looks like I just cloned them like 4 times. I would try to label them better, but No. For who's looking?
Your purposes, you don't need to necessarily...
Yeah.
And that you're not going to be modifying these during stream, so you really don't need to bother with the actual naming convention of the actual assets. You just know, all right, it looks correct. This is what I need it to be, and as long as it functions... That naming is really for when you're actually trying to change things. So, I don't blame you for not bothering on that. But it does say source clone 37, so that suggests that you may have had 36 prior iterations in the draft process.
No, there's probably 36 other source clones of other sources on OBS. Like OBS has no concept like stream idea to stream idea. So if I have a source clone that clones, let's say, a computer image for another idea, that's source clone.
Okay, yeah. So this is the ones that are living across all of those different ones.
Yeah, and I think what I did is I cloned the group, and then I put them in a group, and then I clone the bigger group. So it's just like you keep cloning up, and you can just keep making them.
You can just go exponential on it.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've been doing that more. And then I think on this scene, I blurred the peepos in the background to make it look like there's a huge army of them when there's, yeah, maybe like 12 or 9.
Mm. I'm looking at the size of the scroll bar on your scene list, and that is terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not fun. It's a lot. Yeah, I couldn't tell. I did count one day. It was like over 100. But maybe like 20 are active at a time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, 3 or 5, I think, for like normal streaming. If I'm doing a concept, like another 5 to 7. And then I'm working on something in the background that might be like another 5 to 7. And then, yeah, each people has like their own scene. There's like a really complex switching system.
Oh, that's interesting that you have them set each as a scene. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And so like, they're kind of like paper dolls. Like I can change the, like we can dress them up. Like my chat is awesome and they draw all these costumes for them. So I can dress them up however I want. Which is cool. They can like adapt to whatever we're doing. Sometimes, yeah. I have to readjust it sometimes because I'm always adjusting the peepos in some way, but they get funny little outfits for every single thing we do.
That's fantastic. And I see on the side you have Cockpit 321. I'm guessing that is for the mech anime stream that you did not so long ago.
Yeah, but I've reused these, which I need to not do because it gets overcrowded. Let's see what. That is the cockpit, but like I've used this just for backgrounds for if a peepo is like calling in, let's say from like a remote location. I've reused the scene for like the CIA background or whatever's happening in the background here because I have some other scene that, you know, for the mech anime, I switch between the pilot cams and there's like static that plays in between. And so I just reused that. I was just like, okay, just reuse this cockpit concept for Hitman or conspiracy theories or something like that.
Is there a particular concept that you've done that wound up being unexpectedly easy to implement?
Excellent question. So I'm thinking because I have
to be fair, that is a bit of a big question.
Yeah, easier to implement. I would say like the typewriter one was maybe easy is the wrong word, but it was an idea I had for a long time and I put it off because I was like, this is going to require creating some file external to OBS and like populating it. But getting the actual processing of chat to work was easy. Getting the scene, like building the overlay was not hard. It was just very time consuming because I wanted to do the zoom in. I wanted to like zoom in and zoom out. I wanted to have the peepos like look like an army of peepos. I wanted to have like a typewriter sound. So I don't think any scene has been particularly hard. It's just been very time consuming. Because it isn't like
there's a lot of pieces.
Yeah, it's just putting a lot of pieces together. It's rather it's not a matter of like complexity. Though I think a recent idea I did actually was really hard, at least on the coding end, which was like I turned chat into like a fake AI, like a fake chat GPT. And so what it did was it would pull one-liner messages from chat, then randomly just rearrange them to look like a GPT output. And the idea is like I could talk to it expecting a sane answer and it would just spit out whatever chat was saying randomly. But what was hard was like I wanted the response to be like random each time, like the length to be random. So I had to find a way to say, hey, for this response, randomly pick 3 to 5 sentences. This response pick 7 to 8. This response pick 10 to 12. And then like probably the harder part of all of this is like writing the reset mechanism to basically say reset the whole thing. Like, okay, we're done now, moving on to the next iteration and like resetting it all is strangely difficult because like it's all in this weird button / deck paradigm. And so it's not like normal code. It's like you have to think about you're almost thinking about it more visually, where it's like, okay, this button is in this state, this button is in this state, this button's in this state. They all have to reset after we're done.
Yeah. In the SAMI system, like you mentioned, just glancing at it, the UI does seem very intuitive. That I am not someone who's able to code, but at a glance, I look at that and say, okay, I see those different inputs. You had the different toggles on things that were accessible to only the broadcaster, to only VIPs, subscribers, anybody, things like that. And the ability to set up basically what you compared to a virtual stream deck makes a lot of sense. And that if you want to make something that is more complex along the lines of what you're doing, that it does have that design depth, but that overall it does seem like a pretty accessible system.
Yeah, I recommend it to people who are even curious about coding because I think it has one thing going for it that I think is really important when you're learning to program or code, which is you can like try something and see the changes instantly. And that can happen with like if you make a web page with like simple HTML or like simple scripting. But why I think SAMI is extra good at this is because you can see the changes happen in OBS. So if you're a streamer, like the idea that you can switch scenes, let's say based on what your chat says, is an application that's like immediately available to you or immediately understandable to you. So like things will click in your brain that much quicker to be like, oh, okay, like I can make chat, use a command to switch my scene. That as a streamer is like all these words are like in the Bible for me. I understand everything that's happening here versus like if you learn coding, let's say traditionally, they're saying shit like, can I swear? Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I have had family-friendly streamers on this show, and I have had adult content creators and someone whose literal brand was Chaotic Swear Bunny, so do not worry.
Okay, yeah, so they have shit going on like, oh, you have to learn how to quick sort or binary search tree, which are like important terms, but you know, it's like, hey, imagine you're writing a search engine on the internet and you need to search through this tree. It's like, that is a real application, but like for 99.9% of people even learning to code, they'll never do that, right? Like you'll never think about problems in that way when you're learning. Like maybe when you get into the industry or whatever, you start clicking with that. So the OBS to SAMI pipeline is great because you can think of things in terms that you can think of it in ways in terms you can understand, right? Like you do understand what a scene is, you understand what a source is, you do understand like what switching a scene is, you do understand what an audio source is, and if not, you can learn it, and then like these are things within your ability to learn because it's something hopefully streamers use OBS nearly every day or every time they stream at the very least.
Yeah, and that it's not having to learn a coding language. You don't need to worry about syntax or at the very least, the type of syntax that is used there is housed within the UI itself, and that you're sort of completing those things. There was a window that you showed that had different lines and the comparison. So, you know, like equals or does not equal for what wouldn't be allowed, and that you're able to use these building blocks to create something as complex as the things that you're making or simple things along the way. Is there a piece or a process of SAMI that you figured out that sort of unlocked more than what you might have expected? Just was there a particular discovery that has, from that one piece, ended up having use across a particularly large number of concepts? Be a function, it could be just a way to format things that has made your life easier, or you know, the answer could just be no, that it ends up being very different every time.
No, there is one. I'm trying to think about how to describe it a bit and maybe demo it. Okay, I think I know how to do this. So one concept in SAMI that's like super important for what I do is queuing, and SAMI handles all queuing for me. So what that means is, let's say like it's most important when it comes to TTS. So I'm going to share my screen again. So this is my TTS, like one of many TTS buttons I have. I'm just going to like run it 500 times and hopefully it doesn't explode my computer for some reason. Yeah, I hope it doesn't explode. And okay, it's not showing up because it's oh, it's not active. Is it active? Oh, well, hold on. I do want to use this example because it's a good example. Or I can just code a button, I guess. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna cheat a little real quick. 1 second. I'm gonna cheat real quick, but I'll explain what I'm doing in a second.
As he tinkers, let's see who to miss. Nomyrad, Robot Girly Man, Artifice Blade, and Nugbones. Thank you so much for the follows. Thanks for your patience, folks. That we did not necessarily plan any of this. I said, you know, you can have the overlay, and we don't have a script here, so he is doing all of this on the fly. Also, Archibald, thank you for the follow. As you toggle around with that, I noticed on some of the buttons, there's a gun icon. What is that?
I don't know. I don't know what the buttons mean. I assume like trigger. It means like trigger has a trigger.
Oh, that would make sense. Because I see CH and PER, and then there's just a gun.
Yeah. I don't know why that is. Huh? Why isn't this queuing? Sorry. This is really important. It's worth taking the time to do, because it's like such an amazing. Oh my god, hold on. This is 1 second. I'm gonna make it 10 seconds. 10 seconds. This button just does nothing. It's a random button. This has to work. If it doesn't work, then okay, it's working, but it's impossible to see because this is happening.
How the window capture works.
No. It's I have. Okay, AST. Okay, so it's less of an issue here. I have these other. This is another point that I'll get to that was like an amazing thing to learn, which is you can execute buttons at like every 10 milliseconds. And so I use that to like recreate a first-person camera perspective on my stream. Okay, here you go. So this is queuing. So like I've queued up like 5 buttons at a time, and so they'll only run right after another. That was really important for TTS because it's like I want TTS to wait until the previous character is done.
Oh, that way you don't have the inputs all going at once and just you can't hear anything because they're overlapping. So the queue here is the inputs for TTS to actually spit out.
Yeah. Or you can imagine, I just did this recently, it's like recreate an alert system, like a super custom alert system. And that will have its own queuing system. If you think about like redeems that you do, let's say every time someone redeems hydrate, like water splashes on your head, it will trigger them in sequence instead of like all at once, right? And so wielding queuing, like a queue and having things happen all at once are like, you have to choose what's right for your setup. But queuing is really important for TTS. The other thing, which you kind of saw, is like I've started triggering buttons, some buttons every like 16 to 24 milliseconds. Someone told me, I think one of my mods told me like 16 seconds is like around 60 FPS or something. But from there, I'm able to take, what that does is it takes my mouse coordinates every like 16 milliseconds, and it transforms an object to that position where my mouse is. So effectively, what that means is I can control different sources just by moving my mouse.
Just with the mouse. Yeah.
And that is a new thing I'm kind of exploring because that opens up a lot of interesting possibilities.
The freedom of being able to move something like that without having to bother with specific inputs or without having to, move around to the keyboard, make sure that you have certain things of just, all right, not even click and drag, just point, ends up, it creates a lot of freedom and lets you do things just in a much easier input. So I can imagine that it's such a simple tool, but it's so modular.
Yeah, I think that one example is definitely something that is pushing OBS a little bit, because I don't think OBS is designed to just take that many commands all at once. Like there is a limit, and it is something that's like fairly long. It's like 5 to 10 milliseconds. I've had issues like just constantly triggering it that much. especially when it's showing or hiding a source like every millisecond or something like that.
Yeah.
For one reason or another, OBS doesn't like that. It's just like it's not designed for that or something. So I do think this is like kind of pushing the limits of it. But it's kind of like a funny thing to do if you can like.
You're pushing OBS in multiple ways from what you've told me. That you've said that it takes approximately 30 seconds to a minute to open and about half that time to close.
Yeah, because I don't know what's causing it. That's the problem.
It's probably it's loading 100 scenes, dude.
I mean, but it's just pictures, man. I don't know. Like computers these days, they got to stop whining and just load the program.
And that's on top of the fact that you are running 2 iterations of OBS, that it's not just one.
No, how I know it's the first instance of OBS just complaining is because the second one loads up instantly. So the second one loads up basically instantly and closes basically instantly. But the first one is really slow because I think it has something to do with like you can loop move filters. So like if you want, say, like a source just moving back and forth forever in your scene, like you see some of my peepos are bouncing, like those filters are just clocking back and forth, turning on and off forever. My guess is there's something around that might be an issue. The other guess I have is like I use some highly like graphically intensive filters, and those take a while to shut down for one reason or another.
Voodoo Person in the chat asks, I've been seeing more stream overlays recently that are chat clickable. Are you interested in that space?
Kind of. I know that exists because there's the heat map plugin, but I have not touched it. And I don't know. I honestly don't know what to do with it beyond some surface level things. I wouldn't know what to do with it. So I try not to like overthink this is new tech and I have to use it instantly, because I have like a full body like VTuber like capture. I mean, I have full body, VR, which you could use for VTuber stuff, which is like really highly more, I guess, advanced / technical. But I don't really use it a ton because like I like the space that I'm working in. I think there's something interesting about just like being confined to the chat, or like maybe that constraint breeds some type of creativity. I think there is some value in like staying within a certain constraint that people are most familiar with. Like, I don't think someone would have a hard time understanding that they could click the screen, but that's not something you expect out of every Twitch stream, versus every Twitch stream has a chat, so most people know how to use that.
Yeah. And I guess that would become particularly difficult to express in terms of mobile users. That for clickable streams, I've seen ones where just if your mouse goes over it, the cursor becomes a hammer, and that very clearly indicates, oh, there's something I can do here, that I see a hammer, therefore clicking must be swinging this hammer. But then you're introducing a whole host of other things, of whatever the requirements and plugins are in order to make it so you're able to actually have that transformation on the user end. And goodness knows I do not know what goes into that, but I've seen people do it, and that, perhaps as that technology ends up being used more, that perhaps it'll cause an idea to pop up in your brain, and maybe you'll eventually end up in that space, and maybe not.
Yeah, I don't feel a rush to like explore every single nook and cranny at the moment. I think for me, it matters like I have to start with the idea first, I think. So if the idea calls for like clicking on the screen, if that's filed away in my head somewhere that's possible, but for the most part, they don't turn into that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's important, especially when I work on overlays like this, because within the streaming space, you can get really hyper fixated on tech things. And like, I definitely do this all the time. And like, that's fun for its own sake, but that doesn't like, because I'm like more YouTube / content pilled now, like that doesn't lead to the end result that I'm gonna want like in a week from now or like weeks from now.
Yeah. Is there actually just you sent me a couple of your favorite ones. We already did the typewriter, that was the mecha. You also had the Twitch chat stole my car stream as one that was pretty high up there for you. What made that stream? Because on the surface, that seems, I guess, a bit simpler, because that's just running the TTS and that it is you and chat, and that there were 2 scenes, that there was your perspective outside the car and then chat's perspective inside the car, and you had filters that were on each of these scenes. So if you're talking while we're looking at chat's perspective, you end up being muffled because it's going through the window, and vice versa for chat speaking while we're at your perspective. What made that what made that stream particularly memorable for you?
I'm pulling it up on OBS. So yeah, like you explained, it's just 2 scenes. I think it was one of the first stream ideas I did. I'm kind of a ghost here because my live 2D is not capturing, but my talk marker is there. I think it was one of the first streams where I really could use like an audio filter. Like the idea that your voice gets muffled depending on where your character is, I think in a scene was funny to me. And it's always funny to have someone screaming at you outside the car if there's like no stakes involved. I guess it would be actually really scary in real
little
life.
asterisk when there's no stakes involved.
Yeah, exactly. And so this was the stream that, I mean, a lot of people enjoyed, which I liked because it was simple. It was a stream in which I was able to like leverage audio filters, which is something I always wanted to do. Like this is similar to I guess the mouse clicking example, which is like I like to make music as a hobby. And so I am like, in that world, I am like just like insane slut for like audio tools and filters and virtual instruments and stuff. And like I'll get stuff, use it for like an hour and like never use it again. Like it's a problem. It's a problem, right? And so I've always wanted to combine like some knowledge in that space to streaming.
And that makes sense given what you were talking about earlier with the Tiny Desk concert being an aspiration of yours, that we're seeing that consistency of audio and music production being an interest that you're trying to get worked into your streams more and more.
Yeah, exactly. And this was a situation where I'm like, wait, I know how to make an audio filter for this. I know like the exact thing I have to do to make myself sound muffled from the outside. And this is like one of the streams that I did that I think a lot of people saw, in which I try to build a scene that doesn't look like you're watching someone streaming and playing a game. It's like you have to have some imagination to believe that I am outside, Chad is inside, we are in front of a car, right? And like we're role playing this funny little thing. I like doing things like that. Like I like to build these scenes that like force chat to kind of like suspend some amount of disbelief, no matter how minuscule, to like play along.
Yeah, it was closer to an interactive sitcom than a traditional stream.
Yeah. And I think this was like one of the first ones where like people would just stop by and just type, "This is insane," and just like keep watching. And then like having the muffled stuff is always really funny, because like I think this was like one of the first streams I did where, at least that I can clearly remember, where I'm doing like pretty not intense, but like switching scenes rather quickly was like really important to the experience of the stream, rather than just like, okay, I'm like pausing, I'm going to be right back, I'm going to game, or like I'm playing D&D and like we go to different areas. Like this was like, okay, we have to switch like fairly quickly for this to work.
And I think the filter there really ends up being the secret sauce to the stream, because even if you have these 2 different visual scenes, if you have the voice of chat and your voice at normal levels at all times, that doesn't necessarily ruin it. But by having that filter there, the moment you hear it for the first time, it makes it so much more real, because just your brain instantly processes, oh yeah, of course the voice should be muffled. And it's that little bit of what would be unexpected for a stream but very expected in the IRL situation that lets you get into that suspension of disbelief much more naturally than if you had the two voices at normal levels at all times.
Yeah, there's probably a word for it where it like kind of catches you off guard when, like, if you watch a VTuber stream, you kind of expect everything to flow a certain way. And introducing this idea, like the idea that I keep in mind is there is someone holding the camera in some way in each scene. And when that like kind of subtly gets communicated, I think, to someone watching, you're right. There's kind of this moment where you're like, what is happening? Like, I feel my brain is processing something. I like it. I don't know what it is, but like I'm immediately interested in what's happening here.
Mm. And at the mention of someone holding the camera, that you've taken that to a very literal implementation by having one of your overlays be that shaky cam, that sort of, Cloverfield found footage style thing of just, all right, we don't know which peepo it is, but one of the peepos is holding that camera for you, and they don't have a tripod, so it's jiggling around a bit.
Yeah, I wanted to like recreate. Yeah, it like follows the same line of thought, which is, you're gonna watch a VTuber stream, so you expect everything to be static or like staying still in a certain way. And so imagine if you click through to like a VTuber stream and it's like they're like yelling at the cameraman, the camera's like shaking all over the place. The production quality is like kind of garbage because it's like a shitty camera. I think that's like, I don't know. It's just in like a very basic way. I just like how unexpected that is.
Yeah, and it goes back to the concept that we were talking about with the voice filter of just that little bit, that moment of, oh, this is not expected, but that ends up being sort of that moment of mental engagement because you realize, all right, this is unnatural. Why is this happening? Oh, this is why it's happening. Because as soon as you see that shaky cam, most people are familiar with that concept in filmmaking, so it usually doesn't actually require actual explanation on your part, but that tiny bit of brain processing of he's doing that. It just creates that aha moment for the viewer.
Yeah, and I think it helps the I mean, in video games just do this constantly, right? Like video games have all these little techniques to bring you into the game. So that's like where I draw inspiration from a little bit, which is like I think most perceptions about OBS is like you just kind of use it to compile your overlays, like your alerts, your overlays in your model, and you just want to like stream the game that you need to be streaming, or stream the browser you need to be streaming to your audience. Yeah. And it's just like a quick way to compile something, to communicate. And what I'm trying to do a bit more is take that idea and just see. I guess like make it a game
more dynamic.
Yeah. Something a bit more dynamic and like one thing my friend Jams told me, like one idea he told me a long time ago, which I thought was super funny, which is like, what if the camera like zooms out and it shows you're just like in this studio? Like as a VTuber, you're like sitting in this random studio. There's a green screen. There are like two people sitting around you holding up a microphone.
Oh gosh, just I kind of want that for mine because it makes sense that I here in this very professional, very real late night talk show studio have a normal studio camera on a tripod, so my shot here is very steady. It wouldn't make sense for me to have a shaky cam, but the concept of, all right, let's get the camera zoomed out and show the audience, that's kind of amusing. Ooh, I wonder what that would take.
Yeah, I mean it is simple. I think like I just try to just keep the idea in mind. It's like, what if this was all happening for real? Like, what would it take for it to happen? And I don't really understand the process of making movies, but every time I kind of see or read about it really on a surface level, it like kind of boggles my mind the amount of effort people put into making movies in some way. It's like there's like a guy on the lights, there's like someone called the best boy, I think he's on the lights or the sound or something. There's like a sound guy, there's like assistant to the sound guy, there's like double assistant to the sound guy.
There's the grip, the guy that's holding that big boom microphone. I love the titles that are actually just descriptors of what are you doing. So all right, well we're writing the credits. What do we say little Jim did? Well, he was gripping the thing the whole time. All right, so he's the grip. Got it. Good.
Yeah, exactly. And so just the idea of like all that being put into trying to make like a VTuber stream, which is actually like actually pretty technically complex, but it's just been made much more simple over the years, is like an interesting, I guess, idea with me. Maybe like to distill it even more, it's like the idea that like chat could just inhabit the same physical space as I do in some way, that like that type of representation, though not like literally, like not like hosting a meetup at TwitchCon or like anything like that. Like the chat room itself. Yeah.
Just in terms of your stream implementation, that what if they were in that space? How would they be contributing to what you are making?
Exactly. And then it's like, if they were actually here, it's not a completely blank world. Like there's some rules, or there's some there has to be some object or some type of interaction that they need to be engaging with. Like, okay, what do they do? Why are they here? Are they like hunting for ghosts? Are they holding up the streams? Green screen? Like some version of that has to be true too. I think that's like the difference between like a stream pet and like what I think what I try to do with each overlay, which is like a stream pet is like just there with you to do the thing, to like reinforce like we're playing a game or we're hanging out. And then I guess chat is kind of like my pet in some way, but with a lot more agency, because like they can not only just like yell at me or run the stream, but like this sense of like you're in an actual space, you're in a haunted house, you're in a car, etc. Like I think makes them feel like they have
more of an impact,
feel like,
that it's not just
exactly,
they're not just sort of sitting beside you having color commentary or chatting with you along the way, but they are actually part of the show itself.
Exactly. Like I know this from this is the one thing I remember from games, which is there's like the concept of the magic circle, and it's like a really simple idea that when you play a game, you enter a magic circle, and just like you all agree to whatever the rules of that world are, and then when you step out, like you're back in the real world, etc. And so I guess it all just comes back to that at the end of the day, which is like we just draw this little fun little boundary, and then people can come in and come out.
You mentioned that you read a book that is just called Content, and that it was published, I forget which higher learning institution it was, but this is an actual academic publication.
Yeah, it was. I'm looking up I need to remember the author, Kate Eichhorn, and it's like part of it's published by it's written by Cake. Sorry, not Cake. It's published.
You're telling me a Cake wrote this book?
Yeah, it's written by Kate Eichhorn. It's part of this series from the MIT Press called the Essential Knowledge series, and they do a bunch of
Yes.
Yeah. They do a bunch of like intro to media studies books. I think they're just meant for like general consumption. There's like one on espionage. There's one on like gender. There's one on like nuclear. I think it's like, what was it? Nuclear, not disarmament. What's the one? What's the thing where it's like two countries can destroy each other anytime they want?
Mutually assured destruction?
Yeah, but there's like a theory behind that. Deterrence, nuclear deterrence. Yeah, so there's like espionage, nuclear deterrence, and gender. There's one more that I really liked. Analog devices, something like that. Just like why we love analog devices. And so this is just, I was really interested in this one because it's about the content world, and I don't typically run into writings about that. And it was, yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the book because it just talks about the history of like how everything got to, how it is now, which is a very specific way of how things are now, which is like very ad driven, monetize, etc. And it draws like a very clear line between like early internet, people messing around, doing stuff, to like AdSense gets on the scene, to like someone posts an egg on Instagram for the sake of going viral and nothing else.
Yeah, and this book was published in May of 2022, so in a relative sense, pretty recent, but obviously content and technology and platforms evolve so rapidly that in a matter of years, a number of things there can be out of date, but at the very least, this wasn't something that was written in 2017. That the content world from 2017 to now in 2024 are just so vastly different, but that 2022 is going to be pretty close. Was there anything in that book in particular that really either resonated with you or that potentially had an impact on how you make your content?
Let me think. Actually, let me get my window really quick because you let the air in.
This time it's a physical window, not the computer window. Also, Gyoglep, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thank you for the follow. Welcome on in. Oh, also, Bubbledory, CC, Archibald, Nugbones. I think I already said Nugbones. But thank you all for the follows as well.
No, you're just making me want to reread it because I don't remember like a strong takeaway other than like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like that's the history. I think they made a very interesting definition for capital C content, which it has like two components. One is content capital C's, like one purpose. If you like, and this is not the end all be all, but this is like for the sake of their argument, like pure content like seeks to just be distributed for the sake of distribution and nothing else. Right? And like maybe some people would consider that slop or something, but it's like purely just for this. I guess in some way it's like purely for the sake of views. I was actually watching this YouTube channel today that was like, they did a challenge. They did a challenge where they kind of grew a channel to like 1 million subscribers to show that anyone can do it. And when I like watched the channel, like it was a slime channel, which is like no knock on slime channels, but like they just played with slime for like, I guess 3 months. And they're like, look, I can make a slime channel and get 1 million subscribers or something. And I just thought back to the book because I'm like, okay, this is pure mental, like hit your pleasure center stimulation.
Yeah, it is just stimming content basically.
Exactly. And yeah, so that was an interesting kind of like thought, not experiment, but like that's an interesting way to like frame things. And the other part of it was content is like now completely discernible for monetization. Just because like things like AdSense or like payment systems and things like that have just become so intertwined, and they're possibly there never existed a history where content was never monetized. Like the concept of capital C content only emerged when internet monetization started like taking its first steps out of the primordial soup. So I thought that was interesting because, I mean, you can even see from what I was talking about earlier, there are lines of thinking that are like, okay, my content isn't slop compared to this content, it's just slime. And someone could look at mine and be like, oh, my content isn't slop compared to this guy, he's locking himself in a car with a cartoon frog. There is some, like, I think, humility in that to be like, okay, we're all stuck in the same weird ad-driven system. But the other side of it is kind of like to remind myself to try to do things that aren't just for the sake of proliferation, right? Like I think that's important, like distribution is important and like getting your things out there is important. But I do feel it is very tempting and very easy to do something for the sake of just proliferation. And I don't think it's like the same as like doing it for views or doing it for content or whatever. Like those things, I think those words kind of are meaningless now. But doing it just for the sake of proliferation or like distribution, it sounds so much more terrifying to me as a concept. Which is like, yeah, this only exists just to like reproduce itself and like give absolutely no value to the world. So yeah, I guess that was my takeaway, which is like kind of a morbid takeaway from the book. Well, it's a great book though. Yeah.
Still, at the same time, while maybe if you go that far deep down, it can feel a bit morbid, but at the same time, that helps you get into a mindset that you don't want to be that type of morbid content. And that you mentioned the comparison, people generally think, oh, I'm not creating slop, but I think there is something to be said for the value of awareness of, even if you're not necessarily comparing, just the active mindset of, okay, I want to try to not create slop, that you're not comparing saying, oh, mine is better or worse than this other specific content, but I want to make something that is meaningful. And I think that having that sort of baseline mindset to an approach will help things not be slop.
Yeah, the awareness piece is a very important part of it because like the time that I have to make new overlays and new ideas is like very limited, because there's like, you have to make it and then stream it, and then like now I have to edit it and then like do a bunch of other stuff around it. And so finding the time to actually do that part is hard. And I've had to like be much more mindful as to how I'm spending my time, in the sense of like, do I really have to tweet this stupid idea I have, this stupid joke, right? Or like, do I really have to participate in this meme? Do I really have to like do all these other things? And in a certain way, like getting hyper focused on doing these overlays has helped like kind of organize my life a lot better, because if it's like, okay, I'm just kind of consuming for consumption's sake, I think back to the book, which is like, I'm just trapped in this weird eternal like content slop cycle. And it feels bad. So like it really helps me just be mindful about like intentionally trying to do something, versus like, I feel like I have to play the new game, I feel like I have to stream this or that. It's easier to say, no, I don't want to do any of that, even if it feels like it's the latest thing I have to be doing, because I at least think back to that idea. It's like, I just don't want to do something for the sake of just something proliferating. Like I want stuff to proliferate, just not for the sake of it, right?
Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense. And that I myself sort of wound up in that space when I was thinking of, all right, I have time on my hands. I want to do something with streaming. And I don't think that I would have anything to offer in terms of gaming content, really, that I can play games. I don't think I'd be able to do any particular game at a particularly high level. I don't think I would be able to necessarily be entertaining the way that certain streamers are. And I didn't want to just sort of aimlessly venture out into streaming and just say, okay, I'll be a variety streamer and just do stuff. And with a bit of thought and based on my interests and different skills that I've acquired over my life, I came to the concept of a talk show. And that I very deliberately painted myself into this little box, that it's the channel name, it is everything, that this is a talk show channel that I can do game streams and whatnot. There's certainly no law against it, but that I have created my brand, I've created my channel with the design of, okay, this is what I do because, one, genuinely I do enjoy it, and that this is what I think I would do at a higher level than pretty much any other type of potential content. But that having that focus of just, all right, what can I do and what do I like doing helps prevent it from being slop. That if I want to just get numbers on Twitter, I can post pictures of cats, or I can do, like you said, the latest meme, the latest trend, but that doesn't really, to borrow a phrase, that doesn't spark joy for me. And that I think for anybody who is making content, that finding what helps create joy just for you as the content creator is going to be something of a baseline to success. Because if you're doing something that you don't enjoy, you're just going to burn out sooner or later. And that if you're enjoying what you're doing, you can still burn out, certainly, but I think you're going to be less likely to do so. And that that mindfulness of just, what do I want to do? What is going to be content for me? And that I think if somebody gets that type of joy from playing with slime, or just, all right, we're going to review this slime brand and it's this scent or this texture type thing, and that's something they really like, that you can make slime content that isn't slop content. And you can make slime content that is slop content if you don't have that actual initiative and joy in it. So I think that's just part of this process for anybody who wants to do content. capital C or lower.
Yeah, I think something you're making me realize, it's like, I'm not trying to pass judgment on like however someone wants to run their stream or channel or whatever.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
certainly
it
didn't
is.
think you were.
Yeah, I think it is like, you've helped me reframe it as, um, it's like a decision you have to make for yourself, because I think if you go, let's say on YouTube, and you just search like, I've only become really aware of this because like I have one YouTube tutorial, or not, maybe 3 YouTube tutorials on my channel. And because of that, like YouTube recommends that it's like, hey, here are other videos similar to yours that you should maybe keep making. It's not like, I don't think it's a very smart algorithm, but it just like kind of tries to pattern match. And through that, it has exposed me to like the entire ecosystem of like VTuber tutorial things. And I think if you like go down that rabbit hole, you can get lost, right? You can get like super lost as to like, oh, I need to be doing this thing. Otherwise, like I'm not doing it right. And I think like having this idea of like, what is it exactly that you want to do? Is it just for the sake of proliferating or like adhering to this thing that you read in tutorials or whatever? Or is it actually trying to communicate like whatever gets you excited in that moment, or for why you started streaming? That stuff is like way more important than trying to like, you know, adhere to like sometimes certain rules. And like I know this very well because that happens in music production on not even a daily, like an hourly, possibly minute, possibly on a per second or microsecond basis, because it's just like you have to use this plugin or like cut EQ. It's like the, you know, like the mid-width curve or like the normal distribution. There's like the Jedi on the end, and then like the caveman in the end, and there's like a guy in the middle.
Oh yes, and that the two ends of the spectrum are the exact same, and it's the middle one that's different in some way or another. But the idea of you will inevitably end in the place that you started.
Kind of, yeah. It's like it's like kind of a simple mindset is like, the way I see it is like my music production journey was like, you know, I started as the guy, the caveman. I'm like, oh, let's do what sounds good. And then you get like completely YouTube pilled, and you're like, oh, I need this EQ, and I need this curve, I need this compressor to do like certain things. I need to like mix things in a certain way, and like I need this specific sound, or like I need this specific synthesizer to make the sound.
And then you eventually end up back at just do what sounds good.
Exactly, but it's interesting because I feel like that is like that chart is not a distribution. It's like it's a time. It's a time flow. It's time flow. It's like I could not just think, I did not like understand the true, like the actual like ground truth of like do what sounds good without understanding. Like I did come out of the, you know, the huge bump with like more knowledge and like things I can apply, but it also is a place that I got lost in for like a very long time. And I think the same is like a little bit with streaming, because with YouTube, there's like a double-edged sword element to it, which is I think YouTube is a platform that is really appealing to a lot of folks, not only because it's like one of the biggest video platforms on the planet, but because it feels like you can put something into it and you get something out. And the contrast to that is like TikTok, in my opinion, which just feels like you're shouting to the void. It's like you shout into the void. Sometimes it gives you something back, sometimes it doesn't. Or how I compare it now is like, it's like you're texting someone you just met on an app or something, and they're like ghost you or like love you a ton for like a week straight, then ghost you or whatever. Like it's really on and off with like TikTok. So it's like, what do you do? It's just like nothing. Where YouTube, it feels like there are parameters that you can kind of tweak, right? It's like there's the thumbnail, there's like the title, there's like actual editing. There are like all these little things that you can tweak, and that's great because you can, as a person, you can like look at that and like change one little thing each time and slowly improve. But it's also super, I personally find it, and this is, when I say this, I'm trying to generalize to folks, just like my personal experience. I'm someone who likes to get lost in that. It's like, oh, it's just as easy as like turning this little dial. It's like I just need to turn the thumbnail knob from like the left to right.
Yeah,
and like
there's so many more knobs on YouTube that you can potentially turn than the number of knobs that you have to potentially turn on a lot of different platforms.
Yeah, yeah. And you can get lost in just knob turning and just not think about like the bigger picture, where with streaming, like Twitch does not have super great discoverability. You can't go like viral on Twitch, right? Like it's very rare. But I think the good side of that is like you actually really have to focus on like what you're doing on like the hour to hour scale, because it's like there is knob turning, right? Like it's like, oh, my overlay needs to be better, like my music needs to be better, my mic needs to be better. Like you can turn those knobs, but like you can easily max out. Like there is a universe where you just max out on that. Like you spend 10K for your insane audio setup, you soundproof your room, etc. But you'll max out, and so you eventually have to face like, okay, I just have to do something interesting on stream, and so like that is like my constant struggle, which is like I'm either constantly knob turning or like I'm able to take a step back and like just reevaluate everything. And knob turning is good, but it's super easy to just be a knob turner for the rest of your life, I suppose.
I sort of wrapping back to the sound production and the concept of do what sounds good. I suppose I said that graph initially was you always start where you end up, and I think actually I realize that's a poor description. The concept of that meme template is the actual answer is usually the simple one, because the concept of, all right, what is the caveman instinct of what to do? Do what sounds good. And that you then, it's the overthinker's curve of you start out simple, then go to overthinking, then realize, oh, you don't need to do that. Sorry, Finbog says, what's happening? Is something going wrong on one of the ends? I can hear Shindigs, but not me. Uh-oh. No, my input still works.
Test.
Yes?
That's good.
Okay.
You know what's funny? Yep. What might be happening is this happens to me sometimes. Is my like headphones are not plugged in all the way, so like only half the sound comes out for some reason.
Yeah. Also, what might be your model moves every so often, so they might have thought that you were talking in response to something. Or, anyways, seems like the systems are all working. Cool. But back to the graph. The other thing I didn't realize until you pointed it out is that I'm familiar with the normal distribution graph, and it didn't even sort of clock with me that, the concept at play with that meme is a improper use of that graph because it's supposed to be a statistical distribution, but that it is the time, and that what it actually sort of looks like it's charting there is, like you mentioned, overthinking of like, all right, how much are you thinking? Caveman level, you go to overthinking, you end up something, and then you realize, oh, you can scale down the amount of actual thought, and that it does return to the simpler concept. So just from a design standpoint, the realization, they completely repurposed that graph is something I find interesting. But one thing that you mentioned earlier is, you didn't want to necessarily do something that was just slop or usual, and that the way that ended up sort of expressing itself is you didn't want to just be playing games, but that recently you were part of the VTRP GTA 5 roleplay server. I don't want to call it an experiment, but it was a limited event, a limited time event, where it was this, it was, I believe, a 5-day specific event that some GTA RP servers are just constantly living and people can hop in, hop out, but that this was, I believe, over 100 VTubers coordinated by actually 2 previous guests that I've had on the show, Berrybug and Grimmy, backed by, interestingly enough, Brave Group, which is a major VTuber group. They operate V4 Mirai, Vespo, and several others. Barry and Grimmy are not part of any of Brave Group's arms, but somehow Brave Group got involved in this, so operationally I found that kind of interesting, but that they coordinated over 100 VTubers to participate in this GTA RP for 5 days, and that you were part of that, and you mentioned that it was just, I don't necessarily want to say unexpectedly fun for you, but you mentioned that you had something akin to post-con depression in the days immediately following the event.
Yeah, Yeah, it's not like I don't want to play games. It's like I realize pretty quickly that like I'm not very like when I play a game, I get super locked in, and so like I don't talk, right? And like my thoughts around playing a video game are like, okay, gotta kill this guy, like gotta do this combo. And it's like in some way like it's easier to like bounce off chat than it is to bounce off like getting completely rocked by like the second Dark Souls boss. The 25th time over. Like I don't know. I just don't know how to like talk over that. It's just like, guys, I'm dying. That's it.
I've seen some people who are able to hold full conversations with their chat while playing Dark Souls, and it is deeply impressive to me. I have no idea how they do it.
Yeah, so it was not really like I can't do slop, or like I can't do this. It's just like by the pure necessity of if I wanted to keep streaming, it just could not be that. Right? It's just like it just cannot be that. And yeah, the other part of it is like, oh, I just don't want to stream because like it's cool to stream. Like I want to, there is something interesting with live streaming that I've always really enjoyed, and so I just wanted to like explore that project, and I just found something that was like really, really, really fun for me. So I just keep pursuing that. And so like with the GTRP thing, it was unexpected because it's like, oh, I don't really play games on stream as much unless I am making an overlay for it and I can like bounce off chat with the overlay. But at the same time, like I've always liked the idea of GTARP. I've always liked the idea of Dungeons and Dragons, but I've like played a total of maybe 5 hours, maybe less than 10 hours in my life of like D&D, actual D&D, and even less of GTARP. So like these are things that I think are really cool to exist in the world. I just never found the right opportunity to do it. And even with GTARP, like I was excited for it, but I was like, okay, I just have to block off this week to play it. No idea what to expect. And just came out the other end with like, okay, that was like one of the most incredible gaming experiences ever. Like funny enough, it reminded me a lot of like playing DayZ for the first time. Because there were a lot of like RP elements in DayZ as well, where people would roleplay being these like survivors stuck on the island and like trading things, and you had to kind of feel each other out. This like super early DayZ. And I think the magic of the GTA RP server is everyone's streaming, so there's like an element of performativeness to it, which is good because like playing on RP servers is kind of hard if you're just trying to be a character, I think, alone by yourself in a room. But also just like the serendipity was insane. Like the RNG content you got from just running into random people and playing out interactions was crazy good. And like I think it recreated a part of the internet that like is really hard to kind of feel at the moment, which is like kind of the early 2000s, mid 2000s idea that like the internet is like some extra third place rather than it's constantly around you all the time. It's like the first thing you see when you wake up now, hyper saturated in every facet of life. It was really like mentally really interesting to think like, okay, I'm done with work for today. I'm going to go to like the new place. I guess that sounds weird, but it's like, I'm going to go to this other place that doesn't exist where people are like abiding by these different social rules for a little bit. So that was like a huge, on top of it just being really funny and like everyone being really cool in the server. But it like was a maybe brain chemistry altering moment for sure.
Also, Eric Plays Bass, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome on in, folks. This is Vtuber Talk. I'm Jay. I'm talking with Shindigs right now. He's been going over a lot of the different overlays that he's done, some of the inspirations of his content. We actually were just talking about some GTA RP. For the folks who might have just gotten here. Also, oh my goodness, I just realized I was a terrible host. I forgot to have you, properly introduce yourself. We just sort of jumped into this. That's my bad. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm actually for that. I think I'm, yeah, speaking of like super good slop, I love to keep up with the Twitter discourse anyway, because I'm only human, I love slop. Not even once in a while, just like directly injected it into my veins. And so where I fall where I'm falling on the do you need a starting soon screen discourse? I think I'm actually pro no starting soon screen now. I think I'm like super pro just rip it and ship it. So I'm glad we just kind of like went into it, I think. Like people can Google or follow the link in the description and figure out what's going.
True, yeah.
Yeah, just raw dogging the content. Yeah, you know it's real. We're just like going straight into it.
But for the sort of hopping back to GTRP, for those who didn't have a chance to see much, which actually includes me because I saw all the announcements, but last week was just very, very busy for me. So I didn't have the time to actually tune into any streams. I think I stopped by one for all of 5 minutes. And obviously there, at least to my knowledge, was not some central propped up plot, but it was just everybody gets to, make character in RP. So what was your character?
Oh, I had a character named BT Cummings, and I was like trying to the name for every RP thing I do takes the longest, and so I just like thought I had another character. I used to LARP on this fake LinkedIn website where it was like a fake LinkedIn social network that people were just posting really made up LinkedIn posts. Like,
oh my gosh,
they were like, yeah,
sorry,
I got divorced.
My mind is a little bit blown right now. That's both really cool and also like mildly terrifying. And sorry, I'm a businessy guy, so the concept of RP'd LinkedIn is incredible and slightly painful for me.
It's amazing because like LinkedIn in itself is RP, right? Like the corporate world is in some level RP.
I do not. I have a LinkedIn IRL and I don't post anything on it because I look at it in just the quote, the capital C content on LinkedIn is the worst of any social network, period. It's awful. It's awful.
Yeah, that like Kate has to just redo the book with like LinkedIn as part of the story because it definitely is a strange psychology.
It's my Rolodex. It's useful for keeping up with, all right, where is somebody working right now? What are they doing? Of just like, if I'm looking for somebody professionally to do a thing or, want to stay in contact with someone for professional purposes, it's fine and good there. That I'm glad there is a businessy space.
Yeah.
God, anything that's posted on there apart from, hey, I am now working here, or I have left here, or this is my latest real project. Content on there, that is slop.
Yeah. That is true slop. Like
but the idea now of RPing the slop of the internet.
Well, it does feel more pure that way because it's like
it does.
There is some mask that is removed when you're like, okay, I think the part of LinkedIn that is removed is like the network is called Schlinkton. It's still around. I just checked. Is that everyone knows why we're there? Yeah. Like on LinkedIn, like you said, you're there because you kind of do peripherally want to keep track of your previous coworkers, where people are working, and then just like their drive-by psychological content damage, right? It's just like, oh, I was forced to read what this guy thought about laying off 500 people for fun or something. It's like, I didn't want that, but it just gave it to me. Where on LinkedIn, it's like you are actively trying to psychologically damage other people.
Yeah,
but there's a
it's
freedom.
The game.
yeah, there's a freedom to just like admitting that.
Oh yeah.
And so I think
and now there's an art to it. Now it's okay, how do I make the most psychologically damaging thing I possibly can? And then you're sort of appreciating, oh wow, that's so close to being real, it's kind of painful. Well done.
Exactly. And I think I used like a name generator on that website a long time ago, and it like the last name, I don't remember the full name, but the last name was Cummings, and I was like, okay, this is juvenile, so I'll just be like, that has to be the last name. And then I was like, okay, I love saying big things coming, so I'm like, BT Cummings. I'm like, that sounds like a real name. And then I'm like, this has to be it. So then that locked in the name. I was like character creator for like 5 minutes. I like made it look really, really, really crudely like my avatar. But he just looks like a 36-year-old child, 38-year-old child, I guess. And then there was no like real character. I guess like my character is like I was friends with my streamer friend's character, Donnie, GM's Virtual's character, and that like I was part of the same mafia gang with him, maybe allegedly, what have you. And then it just kind of went from there. I didn't really have a plan other than like just see what people would say. And then I would just make up different motivations as people would show up, I guess. Like I told one guy like I wanted to be a director, which I'm like, that sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah,
yeah.
The concept of getting involved in these types of RPs can be very intimidating for people because some people think, all right, I need to create this full character and I need to have a backstory and I need to know what I'm going to do. You do not need to actually know anything going in. If you can have just a name and let yourself fall into situations and do what either you think feels natural or what you think would just be funny. And that when you have so many people doing stuff, it is so easy to get swept up on one thing or another, and suddenly you have your storyline. You don't need to actually bother making it yourself. That if you want to try and push a storyline, that you can sort of start those conversations and help push the narrative in a certain direction. But if you don't want to, or if you don't necessarily know how to, you can just find yourself there and let folks sort of set the stage for you, and then you just react, and that is roleplay.
Yeah, I think a lot of the storylines just kind of happen naturally because there were definitely a lot of people on the server who did kind of go all out. They had a backstory, they had different motivations, and like I think that just ripples out into the rest of the city or like the rest of the server. And yeah, like I like the idea that I'm just like a guy and like I think some people like wanted to roleplay maybe something like Law and Order, even if that like they wanted like something really dramatic, like a CSI or CSI type situation. It's like a ton of drama, a ton of action, which is awesome. It's just like I just am not that person to like get into that character super quickly. I like the idea that my character is just like hanging out and like getting up to stupid stuff, really. Like just like, okay, I'm just trying to get a taxi from point A to point B, and whatever happens is going to happen.
That'd be an interesting concept of just, okay, I'm a taxi driver here. That's all I do. I drive a taxi around and I have conversations with the folks, and that can be a fully viable role in a GTA RP.
Yeah, one of my favorite characters on the server was Mr. Red, which was by Western Style Guy. He's another VTuber who has a really cool like 90s adventure game, full motion video, pre-rendered 3D type of look. And in the game, he was just like the most normal taxi dude. I think all I remember from his stories, like he's local to Los Santos, and I don't know how he did it, but he just played the character so perfectly that I'm like, yeah, this is a local guy from Los Santos. And that was it. That like that was everything I needed and expected out of him as a taxi driver, but I had a lot of memorable taxi drives with them.
Mm-hmm. Willow Wickertop in chat says, just a guy until God gave him an axe. What is this?
Oh, yeah. I didn't have a backstory, but I think on my first night, I was trying to help someone like revive. I didn't know the mechanics of the game, but like someone was downed. I try to help them. I'm not an EMT, so I can't revive them. An EMT revives them and makes me pay the bill for the revival. I'm like, wait a second, like why do I have to pay?
Hold on. I wasn't revived. That's not how the healthcare, like even the most messed up healthcare systems don't ask somebody else to pay the bill.
Yeah, I don't exactly remember why they made me do it, but then they started raising the price, which was like actually insane. But the worst part, I mean, this is like art imitates life. The worst part is like they called over their cop friend, and the cop was like, well, you have to pay up. You have to pay up or I'll tase you. I'm like, what? Like, no, you can't do that. Like, that's extortion. And they tased me and they tased Donnie. And then so we ran away. But in the moment of running away, I didn't buckle up. I go off a ramp into the river. My character flies out, goes into the river, drowns, and I'm like bleeding out for I think 200 seconds before getting revived. The revive button hits, and this is the moment I remember so clearly that like radicalized me. It says revive for $200 at the nearest hospital, and the EMT was trying to charge me 450. And so it was just a clear idea of it is cheaper to die than to like actually be treated on the street. And that's when I vowed like vengeance against all EMTs.
Oh my gosh, they were playing you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
and yeah, and for some reason Barry, who was god on the server, gave me an axe after that. That was, I don't know why, but she gave me a battle axe, which is something you could not buy on the server.
Oh,
so I took it as a gift from God. Yeah.
Gosh, I'd love to just. I need to talk to Barry and be like, what was the week like? Because I hadn't even thought of that. Because naturally, all right, you're the server runner. You can literally play God. You can do these types of things. I didn't know that she did, since like I said, I didn't tune into any of this. So now knowing that Barry was playing God, and if she was bestowing unique items upon people, who knows what else she might have done, just to, all right, things are getting a little bit boring. I need to instigate content. I need to make things interesting. So I will do this thing. And now I'm so curious at what things she might have done over the course of that week. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I wonder that. I wonder if like it was intentional, because like I think she just saw me like trying to buy a gun, and she was maybe thinking, okay, like guns are like, the server still had some issues like starting out, which is like not all the mechanics were there, which was fine, because I think people were really just like having fun, hanging out, driving around the city. And so I think she was really taking it upon herself to see people trying to engage with the different mechanics. And if they weren't working, she would just be like, I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Here's a gun, here's an axe.
So it might not have necessarily even been, okay, I see Shindigs just, went through it. So here's a little consolation prize for your troubles, and go do a crime. It may have been, oh, I see you're having this trouble, so here, sorry, we can't quite make that work.
Yeah, but that's the perfect role of God, right?
Yeah.
Like God, a naive God who's like just trying to help their loyal subjects, and in turn like turns one of them into like a crazed axe murderer on accident or something.
My gosh. Oh. I'm gonna need to like look up. I'm sure some folks have probably made some good compilations of the things that happened, because it looked like just such a crazy time. And like you mentioned, there were so many different people there, and that the mix of personalities and not knowing who you're necessarily going to encounter, everything I've heard about it makes it sound like it was just a blast. And folks here in chat, PVZuzu666 says that it was a movie 5 stars on Letterboxd.
Yeah, it was a crazy amount of fun. I think every night we got up to something that was some type of story arc front to back. And so it was like something to look for. It was something to look forward to every day. And the idea that it was like this like third space that you can just hang out and like play this different person is something I have not experienced in a very long time. So it was fantastic. And
you still incorporated your usual method of having chat be part of the show by having them be your intrusive thoughts that they would have. You had them sort of appear with, the blurred background of, oh, you can see this character, and that they are in your mind over your shoulder saying things. And, well, those intrusive thoughts said a lot of the types of things that you would expect from Twitch chat. And just, I love that you were able to find such a natural way to incorporate your usual stream sensibilities into this entirely new environment.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't remember how the idea came up, but I do remember it being like, oh, this is going to be really fun. I don't think it played in the server super well, because I did want to 100% focus on like the player-to-player interaction. And so I think I will have to do intrusive thoughts like on a single player server, or like just some single player games. But the moments that I was able to make it work was super fun. I like that idea. I didn't see a ton of this happening as well, but I also heard like some of the Hololive folks who were on the server, they were doing a thing where they would like turn on reverb to like voice their internal thoughts, which I thought was like a super creative way to do that as
okay.
well.
So they would toggle off their
Yeah.
in-game microphone, so they're not talking those things out loud, but that you're able to just have that toggle of, all right, turn off in-game microphone, turn on reverb for stream, and that is the differentiator for the internal monologue, and that creates the easy differentiation for chat. And it's sort of similar to the filter with the car stream that we were talking about, of people are usually familiar with the slightly echoed inner voice.
Yeah. What would have been extra funny now that I think about it is if they were able to somehow to turn their GTA camera to like a new camera, like do the House of Cards fourth wall breaking effect.
Ooh, yeah.
Because that would be insane. But unfortunately, like everyone in the game would be like, "Who are you talking to?" That's actually kind of worth doing. That actually is kind of that's a good idea. I'm writing that down.
The question is, can you find a way to do this just on your stream? That as long as you are able to turn off your in-game microphone very easily, you can do this. That it doesn't necessarily allow you the time for a full House of Cards internal monologue, because obviously the real world is still happening around you. It's not actually pausing time, but I'm pretty sure there's a way that you can have the in-game camera move, and so now it's going to be in front of you, and that you can then, if you want to either have the echo voice filter on or something else, that you can basically expand upon the internal monologue design that currently exists, and then just take it to the next level.
Yeah, could you repeat the last part? So like you're talking about expanding this idea in some way and like extending the length of the time that you can talk.
So you wouldn't necessarily be able to extend the length of time because you can't stop actual in-game action, but expanding the concept of what is an internal monologue toggle. That we currently have the baseline of it is voice reverb, but what if we then did, you mentioned the idea of a camera of, okay, can we get the in-game camera to then move to be in front of you, so chat and what your stream output is doing, that it's looking at you and your character, so you have that sort of House of Cards, the character is talking to the audience in their internal monologue.
I think it's possible. I do think it's possible in GTA, because like you can control the camera in a certain way.
But it's would you be able to hook that up to a toggle on Stream Deck or in Sammy?
I don't think you need to toggle. I think you just need to learn how to control it in GTA and like get the right effects up. I don't know how to do it. Like you would need some way to turn your character and like some way to manipulate the camera, but the camera is very robust in GTA. Yeah. So that's definitely very doable. I'm thinking about how to do it on an overlay. Like it would have to be something where the model turns to the right and like you see the overlay behind the model is like in a warp perspective, because it's like now you're in a camera that is in the third dimension. But I think that's very doable. I think it's super doable.
Because that's just I don't know, the idea of the House of Cards monologue sort of got my gears turning of, how could someone like you, the way that you've done those types of streams, I think that there's a lot of creative space there, and I'm not surprised that you enjoyed the GTA RP as much as you did, because basically, in this sense, all the other participants were chat, and that it had just, well, no offense, chat, a bit more focus than chat normally has.
Yeah, it was, I think, like very Truman Show-esque, where like chat had multiple perspectives, and like you can watch, let's say a group of people are doing a heist or having a party, you can watch all three multiple perspectives, and even then, if they're not doing the reverb monologue thing, they're probably still talking about their motivations and their thoughts and things like that, which is really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like another, I mean, this is a bit of a tangent, but like this idea of getting the streamers or chats like internal thoughts or like motivations is something it's like an idea in the broader pool of things. Like another one is kind of shooting an episode of The Office, but like chat is the office members. But like the key part of that experience would have to be like the cutaway to the talking head segment, right? But I think it is possible. It would just be like setting up the whole set. But it that is kind of an interesting dynamic, I think, that's getting way more popular.
And just for the types of things that you do, and sort of going back to the concept of improv, that role play is literally improv. So it was cool to see you and so many others really just jump into that. And like I said, I need to look up some clips, but just from the bits and pieces that I've seen, there's a reason that GTA RPs have become so popular, and that this mode really has maintained this decade-plus-old game that I would have to assume at this point in time, at least in terms of streaming content, that GTA RPs probably occupy 90% of GTA 5 streams. That some people still probably play through the campaign mode, but that GTA RP has become such a big space, and it's it's very cool to see that I as a viewer definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's one of those ideas that I love exists in the world. It's just something I can't, or I haven't played a ton of to like really appreciate it. But I remember watching a ton of GTA RP, I think like in 2017, 2018, whenever it blew up on Twitch for the first time. Because that was like, it was super novel back then to watch like GTA RP cops, because they had to like memorize the entire actual like traffic laws and stuff. And that was a lot of fun. So like I've always like really admired what the community has done, and it's something like I've tried to do before, and it's like, okay, this is like really dense and like really hard to get into. And so when Barry set it up, it was nice, not only because all the everyone was kind of new and like figuring things out, but also like because not all the mechanics were 100% working, that in some ways was like a nice blessing, because it kind of eased us into the game a bit. Because I think everyone understood some basic mechanics, which is like when you die, like the ambulance shows up, and cops can arrest you. But outside of that, it's like you kind of had to make your own situation. And as someone who hasn't played GTA in like a really long time, it was nice to just be like, okay, I know how to steal cars, I know how to talk to people, like that seems to be, I can do a lot with this already.
Was there a favorite moment other than the whole healthcare incident, for lack of a better term?
Ooh, I liked one of my favorite moments was I was with Mr. Red, the taxi driver, and we picked up this guy named Sal A. Riemann, which is like a pun off salaryman, and he played this like first time to America Japanese businessman. And so we were immediately like, oh, we have to take you shooting. We had to, we had like, you're in America, you have to like get a gun. But his first thing was like, oh, I want to see a gang war, which I'm like, that's insane. But yeah, we drove him to like to watch a gang war. We got pulled over by a monkey, and a monkey gave him a gun. And then we went to the beach and we drank and we just shot guns into the ocean, which was like a really nice chill thing, which I think is very emblematic of like, that's what I'd rather be doing on a GTA server versus like maybe getting up to something really crazy. Also like going, me and my friend's character, Donnie, we were on a quest to just like try to cook meth or crack, just because that's one of the mechanics in the game that we wanted to try. And we called up some characters who were like a crime taxi driver. I think it's like played by Ronan, but they were like an offshoot. They were an offshoot of Miss Frizzle, but like they couldn't. Oh my
god!
Turn to like a life of crime. They couldn't drive a bus anymore. Relegated to taxis.
Oh my god!
But the best part is they were very knowledgeable of like the drug underground, so it was very in character. Taught us everything we need to know about the city's underground. It's beautiful. That was a really fun day, yeah, because we got to go all over the city.
concept of a criminal, Miss Frizzle, of just, all right, class, we're going to teach you all the basics of, the chemical process for creating meth, and just, all right, here's how the hierarchy of the gang system works. Education!
Yeah. It was like that, and like robbing houses. That was the last thing we did. We robbed a house.
That's beautiful, and just, oh, that sounds like a fanfic, but I love it because what is RP for if not creating these types of just absurd fanfics and crazy interactions? That's so fun. Also, I see that Ronan is here in chat. I saw her earlier, and just give a shout out. Hello, Ronan. Ronan was on the show not too long ago, and I think like 90% sure I finally uploaded that episode to YouTube. I'm not nearly as behind as I used to be, but still a little bit behind. But we are getting toward the end of our time. I do have a couple of last questions that I always like to ask all my guests. And near the top of the show, I asked if you have any particular stream projects that you're interested in, but from a broader standpoint, or I guess from perhaps a more limited standpoint, do you have any goals for the rest of 2024? That we are now in September, so only a couple months left, but we're not in December yet. We have some time. Is there anything that you're hoping to accomplish, any particular projects or any concepts that you want to be able to execute before the end of the year?
Thinking. I mean, I had a goal for YouTube to hit 100K subs, and I did that.
And you hit that this week, I believe, and congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. That's like the first time in a while I had like a number go up goal. I think because they have the plaque, so like I fell into the incentive, but it's a good incentive. So that was good. And originally I didn't think that would happen until the end of the year, so I have to think of something else. I do think like I want to do a lot more music-based concepts before the end of the year because I keep saying I will and I just never do. And talking about the Tiny Desk concert and things like that, I just want to get more back into that world a bit more. But I think the broader goal is find a sustainable way to edit videos that isn't like complete mental anguish. That sounds like pretty dramatic, but I think that's a real goal of mine, which is like if I could find a way to consistently edit a long form video and make it not feel like complete mental anguish until the very end, that would be a huge step up.
I do remember that when we were initially talking about scheduling, that one of the first messages you sent me were, yeah, I'm in video editing hell right now.
Yeah, because it's just, I think my mentality, and this is like fed by the overlay stuff, which is, I don't like it if an overlay takes more than like 2 to 3 days. Like by the 4th day, I'm like mentally in anguish because I just want it done. I'm just like, this is not hard. This should be complete. I just want to stream this. And I know things take time, like larger projects in the world, they take weeks, etc., months, years. I'm just very impatient. And so like a lot of overlays I do, I'm able to do them the same day, or I think about them for a long time. So when I sit down to do them, I know what to do. But video editing is not like that. It's like you have to actually just sit there for, let's take, for example, let's say you're streaming for 4 hours. Unless you're really good and experienced, which I'm not, I'm very amateur and new, it's at least 4 hours to watch everything and cut it down. And then another 1 to 2 hours to like, refine, add effects and everything, if not longer. And that, like, just saying those numbers out loud horrify me as a person.
The time adds up very quickly. That if your stream is 4 hours, just that was the broadcast length, that means you are having to watch at minimum 4 hours, and that is if you are the perfect editor and you are able to figure out how to edit with only one pass. And basically nobody does that you are going to have to rewatch different scenes, different bits multiple times. You need to figure out the timing, and then just the different drafts of, all right, do I want to cut here? Do I want to keep in this little interaction? And all of the thought processes that go into good editing, it takes a lot of time. And when you're watching the same things over and over and over and over again, it can become very mentally taxing.
Yeah, and like sometimes the whole idea doesn't come out until the very end. Like I think the past 2 videos, like the typewriter video that I just did, that became like the best performing video. You can just hear in my voice. The machine just pulls you in. It just like plugs you in the matrix like immediately. The tendril just like, yeah, the best performing. Yeah. The video that I did with the typewriters ended up doing very well, much better than I anticipated. I do have like a floor. I'm like, I want all videos to like kind of do at least this well, because it means like I feel like
people are enjoying it. It means that people are staying tuned in, that there's nothing wrong with wanting things to do well. Metrics mean that you are entertaining people.
Yeah. And so it went way above and beyond that and past the threshold I would say is like extraordinarily well. And that, I remember editing that and just being like, because sometimes I do the stream ideas over 2 streams. And so I did the first stream was like 4 hours and the second stream was like 2 hours. And so I'm editing all this. I'm like, this is anguish. And then I'm putting it together and just thinking like, man, this is actually really taxing to watch all the way through, as like, it's not really engaging. Like things are like the images are pretty static, right? As dynamic as the stream is, if you're cutting to the same 3 or 4 streams over 20 minutes, like that still is going to feel static to the viewer. And so I'm like, and I also feel like there's no structure, which is like, we're just trying to do these things. And it wasn't until like the last 2 hours or 1 hour, it clicked in my mind to be like, the structure of this video has to be this. Like the overlays, the cuts between the structure has to be this. And I hate how things take time. I hate how you have to practice to improve. I hate how like, yeah, actually doing things multiple times over a long period of time is like the only way to do something well. I'm kind of like half joking, which is like, of course, that's how things are done.
Yeah, but at the same time,
it's annoying. Yeah, it's really annoying.
It's a lot, and that it feels all right. Gosh, was that efficient? Did I do that right? Was all this time spent properly? And then if you spend all those hours and a video doesn't perform well, it feels even worse. And now it's just, okay, I just wasted 3-4 days of my life for what? And that if nobody's actually enjoying it anyways, that can be really rough.
Yeah, I don't really mind if like no one enjoys it, like, because I'm enjoying just like the learning the like mechanics of editing, right?
Well,
like
good.
pacing. Yeah. But even in that context, like the other example I'll give is like I'm learning bass, like just practicing bass. I like take lessons and I play week over week. And like it's fun, it's good. It's annoying that you have to just do it all the time to get better. Like I wish you could just wake up after a week of not practicing and just like keep improving. But it's annoying how that's not how our brain works. And so like there's just like a constant annoyance with like just the laws of our natural world compared to like what you actually have to do. So like video editing is, in my experience, that encounter is like one of the worst forms of that, because it literally, like you said, it literally is almost time bound to the length of the video and then some, depending on like how good you are. Yeah. Anyway,
So,
I didn't mean to yap about that too much.
How dare you yap on a talk show, Shindigs? Oh, no. But I'm glad that things have been going well in that realm, and that, you know, even if it is frustrating and difficult, that you still, I guess, grit and bear it. That you're finding ways to make it work, and that I hope you're able to. You said that it's still enjoyable to an extent, even if it is somewhat excruciating. And I suppose that sounds contradictory, but I understand what you mean.
Yeah, it's like if you do enough excruciating things, you just like understand that, oh yeah, this is going to be excruciating. So like when you go into it, you just accept it, and it's like a little less than, it's worse. No, sorry, it's not as bad as it could be, because like the worst feeling is going into something thinking it's easy, and then it's like not even really hard. It's just like slightly harder than it being easy. I think that's like the most annoying feeling, which is like
having
hey, this should be easy.
Expectations makes things easier.
Yeah, if you go into something and it's easy and it's like impossible, you're like, okay, well, I'm just like not calibrated. That's fine. But if you go into something and it like starts out easy, but then you like over time hit a roadblock, that is the most annoying, because it's like, wait, I thought I could do this, and then now I can't.
Yeah, then it's like, what's going wrong? Things were going right, and now they're not.
Yeah, exactly. But video editing, I don't think it's like anything like that. It is almost like purely a time thing, which is like you just need to like, in the same way some problems are unfortunately like you throw money at the problem, like editing is like you throw time
at the problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the last question I ask all my guests is, what does being a VTuber mean to you? And that's not asking what is the definition of a VTuber, but different people get different things from VTubing. Different people are able to experience different things from VTubing. I've had folks say, being a VTuber lets me get in touch with my inner child. It lets me be someone I can't be in real life. I've had others say, it's a tool in my tool belt as an entertainer, that I like my model, I really enjoy it, I think the design is very cool, but I don't feel anything necessarily emotional toward it. And those are two pretty polar ends of a spectrum, and there's things in between and even beyond that, and there's no right or wrong way to be a VTuber. But for you, Shindigs, what does being a VTuber mean to you?
And you really set me up for an awkward response, because I was going to say what it means to be a VTuber to me means doing VTubing in the most correct way possible. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I've always wanted a avatar-based way to stream since like 2015, 2016. Like that, I remember having this thought in conversation with friends over like multiple years. It's like, man, like just when someone figures out how to like just track an anime character to like streaming, like I'm gonna be streaming like 24/7 kind of thing.
And boy, did they.
Yeah, they whoever, John VTuber, you deserve like a Nobel Peace Prize or something, because you really cooked up some crazy stuff out there. So I think to me it is, I like exploring the medium of like live streaming, and I think more broadly just like internet video. And having the avatar is really great to help me explore my interactive ideas, because I think this idea of like interacting with the chat and interacting with the streamer together is like something that I've always loved to experiment in. Like Twitch Plays Pokemon was like the super classic example for such a long time. I was in school then, and I actually did like a number of projects that mimicked like Twitch Plays Pokemon, and like was writing like stuff. I'm like, this is why this is so cool, and everyone should know what it is. And so to be able to just do that like on a daily basis is really fun. So it's a very interactive thing for me. Like it's really based on the interaction between me and the chat.
Yeah. And I always ask that at the end of the show, because while I never know exactly how someone will answer, the answers always make sense. And that for you, interactivity, I suppose, is the one word that can really centralize all of the things that you work with and that you enjoy. That it's what you look for in your streaming, it's what you look for in the content that you make. It's just interaction for you seems to be, that's what sparks joy, again, to borrow a phrase. And that it's been really cool to see the ways that you have been able to find interaction points and how to drive interaction, not in the sense of drive interaction to numbers and metrics, but that you drive interaction in your chat, in your streams, in ways that most don't. That you design it. Chat is a interactive thing in and of itself, certainly, and that is sort of a baseline in live streams, that you have chat and that you can interact that way, but that you have expanded the scope of interaction and the impact that people can have on your streams in a very literal sense. And I'm looking forward to seeing all the different types of interaction that you were able to create in the future, and whether that ends up being with the Tiny Desk concert or one of the many, many ideas that you have in that long document. I'm just excited to see what you end up doing next. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here tonight. I do actually have one last question, and that's, who would you like us to raid?
Ooh. I don't know. Was not prepared.
That's the trick question at the end of it all. That's the hardest one. While he looks around, let me see. Heart Transplant, Eric Plays Bass, Ronnie XYV, And Luminia vs. VT, thank you so much for the follows. Hope you all enjoyed the show, and thank you to everyone who's been here, whether you were here during the pre-show or if you stumbled in along the way or came in with Eric's raid. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. Oh, and thank you to Salad Forest as well. It's a good name, Salad Forest. Jin, you got somebody for us?
I think I got someone. Why don't we raid... Whoa, hold on. Am I still here? Am I clicked the wrong thing?
No, you're good.
Why don't we raid Hazmat BT? Type in the chat. They were also in the GTA RP server.
Ah, very fun.
Yeah, and they also have a really cool horrific tar creature VTuber.
Ooh. TV Zuzu 666. Thank you for the follow as well. But yes, I don't have any emotes of my own, so use some of Shin's or any of your favorites. Be sure to let Hazmat know that Shin sent you along. Again, thank you so much for being here, everybody in chat, and thank you, Shin, as well. This has been so much fun, and I think you might actually be streaming later tonight. I'm not sure, but last I heard, I think you mentioned that was the plan.
That's the plan, but I'm gonna lay down face first in the bed to recharge for a bit.
Yeah, yeah. That's why we're not rating your channel. So, yeah. So, folks, if for some absurd reason you aren't already following Shin, please be sure to do so. His links are over here on the side of the screen, down in the channel panels if you're watching live on Twitch, and will be in the YouTube description when this is up on YouTube. And also a shout out here for good measure. Seriously, if you're not already following him, what the heck are you doing?
Thank you.
Well, seriously, thank you. The show does not exist without the guests, and this has been so much fun. So enjoy your little rest and enjoy your stream tonight. And for now, everybody, enjoy Hazmat. This has been VTuber Talk. He's Shindigs. I'm Jay. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.